Hi guys, this is lesson 7 in module 6. The objective of this lesson is to plot points, and then we're going to use them to draw lines in the plane, and then we're going to find patterns within those coordinate pairs. So that's what's new with this lesson, is that we're looking for patterns that we see between the x and the y coordinate. We're not just plotting points, we're not just identifying points, but now we're finding rules. So we're not going to see lines that are perfectly vertical or horizontal like we were before. You're going to see different types of lines now. All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm on page 35. I'm going to start with number 1. So they want us to complete the chart. We're going to plot the points on the coordinate plane, and then we're going to be writing a rule to show the relationship between the x and the y coordinate. So let's first do the chart, get it plotted, and then we'll talk about what it means for the rule. Okay, so we can just, I don't think they don't ask us to label the points. They just want us to draw them and then connect them with a straight edge. So the first one is 0, 1. This one is 2, 3. If you guys want to pause the video, you could do this part on your own. Okay, so these are the points so far. You need to connect them with a straight edge. It's important that you are using a straight edge because we're going to be finding different points on these lines later on. Also, something I want to point out. Notice when I draw a line, I extend it through the coordinate plane. So a lot of you have been drawing lines that end like right after the last point. You need it to extend it a little bit more. I'm missing a point here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm not. Okay. All right. They want us to write a rule showing the relationship between the x and y coordinates. So again, this is the x coordinate. This is the y coordinate. So I'm going to try and find a pattern in each coordinate pair. I'm going to look to see what that pattern might be. So this one goes from 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like the y coordinate is one more than the x coordinate. So that looks like that is the rule for this line. Y is one more than x. They didn't give us a whole lot of room to answer part B. All right, here is where we need to, where it helps where you've extended the line. So it says name 2 other points that are on this line. I can either look on my line and see, all right, I see a point there, a point there, a point there, or I can just think of the rule. I know that y is one more than x. So 8, 9 would work, 9, 10, any of those would work as long as the y is one more than the x. All right, we're doing the same thing down here, but just with a different rule this time. So first we need to plot the points they have given us. Again, you can do this part on your own if you just want to pause the video. All right, your line should look something like this. I can see that I didn't draw mine exactly perfect because it should be actually going through this one and this one, but close enough. All right, write a rule showing the x and y coordinates. So again, I'm going to look first at the x and then the y. Right in this point, we go from 1/2 to 1. Here we go from 1 to 2, 1 1/2 to 3, 2 to 4. To me, it helps when you look at points that have two whole numbers. Like, that's a little easier to find a pattern or a rule when you look at whole numbers. When we get, you know, mixed numbers in there, I think it makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm gonna look at 1 and 2 and 2 and 4 and see if I see a pattern that is similar. Well, I know to get from 1 to 2, that's doubling it. So for here, 2 is twice as much as 1. Let's see if that rule also applies to 2, 4. So 2, I'm thinking, all right, is 4 twice as much as 2? Yes, it is. So the rule is that y is twice as much as x. All right, they want us to name 2 other points on the line. Again, you could always look at the line and see what points would fall on it, or you could just use the rule. Y is twice as much as x. So we could do something like 4, 8. Or if we want to get fancy and do a mixed number, you could do 3.5 and 7. Either way, when you plot these, they should fall on the line if you had drawn the line perfectly, which I did not. All right, let's move on to page 36. All right, we have a bunch of different lines on here. We're gonna use what we see here to answer the questions down here. So we've been given lots of different lines here. It looks like we have A, B, C, D, and E. So notice that C and B are lines that we've seen before. They're horizontal and vertical. E, A, and D are not. They are on a slant. So that's a little different for us. That's new for us. All right, let's look at A. It says, give the coordinates for 3 points that are on line A. So I'm finding line A. I need to find 3 points that fall on that line. It is not a good idea to choose a point that falls in here because it's not as easy for me to find what those points are. Instead, you should be looking for points that go straight through one of these squares. Like this would be a good one. Here's another one that intersects both in here. Those are just 3 examples of points that you could use. You could have used different ones, like I see one here. It doesn't really matter, but don't go for points that are kind of, you know, floating around in between a square. All right, so I'm gonna give the coordinates for each of those. I want to first think about what my scale is here. I see it goes from 0 to 10 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces in between. So it looks like they're counting by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep. All right, let's find this one. This is at 8, 8. Next point, this is 12, 14. Go up 12, 14, so 14, 14. And then up here we have 22, 24, 24, 24. All right, write a rule that describes the relationship between these 2 points. Well, this one is a little easier. They are the same, so x equals y. Or you could have done x equals y like that. That one's a little bit more obvious. All right, moving on to page 37, that's the last one. Now they're asking questions about this page, about page 36. So we need to look at this to answer questions here. All right, it says, what do you notice about the y coordinates of every point on line B? All right, so I'm looking at line B, which is this horizontal line here. What do we notice about the y coordinates? All right, I can look and see all of these points. I'm just making them up for now. If I were to imagine what the coordinates of these points are, this one would be 2 in between the 2 and the 4. So this is 3 for the x coordinate. The y coordinate is 12, 14, 16, in between the 16 and the 18, which would be 17, okay? All right, looking over here, let's do this point that I found. Actually, you know what, it would make more sense if I did it on the line. Let's look at this point. the x coordinate is 10. The y coordinate again is 17. I'm gonna change these as well. Let's do this one. The x coordinate is 22, 24, 26, 17. So I wrote all of those points that I just plotted along line B. I wrote them here. So what do I notice about the y coordinate on each point for each part of the line? Well, they're all the same. They're all equal to 17. This goes back to what we were talking about the previous two lessons. If there is a horizontal line, so a line that goes like this, just like line B, all the y coordinates are going to be the same. If there is a vertical line like this, all the x coordinates are going to be the same. All right, part D says, fill in the missing coordinates for the points on line D. So I'm coming over here. I'm finding line D. This one is line D. All right, so if the x coordinate is 12, we need to find the y. So 12 is right here. And remember, I'm using this line right here. So 12, the x coordinate, or the y coordinate would be 2, 4, 6. So 12, 6. Now for this one, the x coordinate is 6. We are finding the y. So x coordinate 2, 2, 4, 6. That would have been here. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky. My line does not extend all the way down there, but I can extend it on my own. You should use a straight edge for this. That's where the line would go through the x-axis. So if I know that the x coordinate is 6, that point lies right on the line. I didn't go anywhere. So that means the y coordinate is 0. All right, I want you to finish these last 3 on your own, so please pause the video. All right, you should have gotten 30, 24, 28, 22, 34, 28. All right, now here they're trying to ask us basically what the rule is for line C. So for any point on line C, the x coordinate is what? So let's go back to line C. It is right here. For any point on this line, what is the x coordinate? Well, I'm gonna look over how far do I move over on the x-axis to stay on this line. I move over 2, 4. In between here is 4 and 6, and if it's directly in between, that means 5. So for all of these points on this line, my x coordinate would be 5. All right, last part. For each of the points that lie on at least one of the lines shown, I'm gonna read that again. Each of the points lies on at least one of the lines shown in the plane on the previous page. Identify a line that contains each of the following points. So all of these points lie somewhere on one of these lines. It's your job to find out where they lie. So I'm gonna find 14, 8 first. So I'm gonna go over x 14, up 8. So that would be this point, and it looks like it lies on line D. All right, I'm gonna have you do these 3 on your own, but let's talk about this one because it has decimals, so it's a little bit trickier. We're looking for 15.3 and 9.3. We're not gonna be able to find those exactly on this line, but I'm gonna kind of estimate here. So I'm looking for a point that lies pretty close to 15.9. So I'm first gonna look around 15. This would be 12, 14, somewhere in between here is gonna be 15. And then going up to about 9 would be roughly here. So the point would fall about here, and it lies on line D. All right, I would like you to do these 3 on your own, so please pause the video. All right, for number 3, 5, 10, it could have been C or E. 0, 17 lies on line B, and then 2040 lies on line E. All right, that's all we have for today. You guys are going to do your assignment that will be on pages 38 and 39 for lesson 7.